Righty ho then lads, welcome back to another Battlefield 2042 video. I'm Frosting already, and today we're answering a big question asked by the community, and that is specialists, and if they're a problem or not. Now, I want to just point this out, that I'm not going to be I'm going to give my opinion on specialists in this video. You know, we may agree, we may disagree, I want to hear your opinion on it, so either put it in the comments or my Discord server, because who doesn't like a good debate, you know what I mean? Who doesn't? You know, as long as there's no harsh words used here, I'll try to be as fair as possible. But yeah, let's talk about specialists, because it's a different route for Battlefield to take. However, I don't think we can blame EA and DICE for doing so. And hear me out on this, right? Have you noticed that a lot of, multiplayer FPS games specifically are going with a specialist operator route? It seems to be the way that the FPS industry is kind of flowing towards this kind of style, I suppose you could say. I mean, let's name some of the highest ranking FPS games off our mind that are like AAA titles, right? There's Overwatch. Obviously, Overwatch has a range of different heroes. Rainbow Six Siege, a bunch of different operators with different abilities. There is Valorant, again, a lot of different kind of specialists. I don't know what they're called. What are they called in Valorant? I don't know, I don't play Valorant. You've got Apex Legends, similar thing, you know. And yeah, so a lot of the big kind of, FPS game titles have operators that have special abilities. And some just have the operators without abilities, such as Call of Duty, which is just, different skins with different voice actors and stuff like that, but it's still technically part of the game. So it makes sense, in my opinion, why DICE and EA did try to implement this, because it is kind of the way that the industry is flowing. Now, I know not a lot of people expected operators to be in a Battlefield game. Battlefield was always more militaristic and somewhat realistic compared to the likes of those other games, especially like Call of Duty and stuff. I mean, Call of Duty is militaristic, but Battlefield was always more realistic in a sense, because you could use the jets and the tanks and stuff, and you know what I mean, right? If you've played Battlefield, you probably agree with me that it was more military-esque than Call of Duty was, but Call of Duty was still military. It's confusing to kind of say with words, but you get the point, right? So I don't think we can blame them in a sense for trying it. I think the one thing they did though is they made the specialists not for multiplayer, which is one thing why people are angry. The specialists were not designed for Conquest or Rush or anything. They were designed purely for a Battle Royale mode, which I believe they did try to do with this game, but they didn't, they failed with it. It makes sense. You could run basically, in a Battle Royale, so you don't need to scavenge anyone and have to kill people. You bring an Angel. You want to get to the high ground, you bring a McKay. It's... The operators were designed mainly for a Battle Royale. They obviously realised it didn't work, and so instead they were kind of plopped into multiplayer where they don't... Well, I don't know. Do they fit or do they not? Depending who you ask. I think some of them have a place in a sense, as they don't have that much of a thing, I mean, look at Falk. Falk just heals people with a pistol, It's hard to really say that Falk is, shit and doesn't belong in the game, when essentially it's just a buff medic role, and that is really all she is. I mean, now, there is one operator, you probably know who it is if you've been in the community for more than like 5 minutes per se, and that's Sundance, the specialist I'm playing in this entire video. Sundance is a bit busted, right? Now, don't get me wrong, she was more busted at launch. If you played Battlefield 2042 at launch and the Sundance sweats were out in like full force, it was madness, right? Not so much anymore, but still very annoying to deal with. And if you don't know what Sundance does, well, first of all, what kind of rock have you been living under? But she's got scatter grenades. Essentially, it's a grenade, you fling it and it turns into mini grenades. Very good for objective clearing and, chucking it in small rooms. But the thing is it's so annoying to deal with. Now, if they gave there's also one with anti-armour where you basically chuck it at a helicopter or a tank or whatnot, it does damage, right? That would be fine, right? If that was her only grenade, I would see no problem with that, right? Scatter, there's issues with it, but if they gave her one, I wouldn't care less. The issue is it recharges, okay? Scatter grenade recharges over like a short period of time. Even if it's a longer period of time, I don't think people would care, less. Or people would care more, sorry. I don't know how you describe that. Yeah, anyway. Point is, Sundance is fucking broken and needs to be nerfed. No one, if you play Sundance, you're a sweat. I know I'm playing Sundance in this clip, so it's a bit contradictory, but I'm only playing this to prove the fact, well, I didn't even get a scatter kill in this game, because I had to hold myself back from being a sweat, right? That's what I did. I held myself back from being a sweat at this game. Because that's what Sundance players are. You could play literally anyone else. And sure, okay, not all of them are great. Rao, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he's not that great, and Dozer's also quite wank, and... Alright, I'm not going to get into it, but you get the point, right? Specialists, they feel weird in this game, because they weren't designed for multiplayer, if that makes sense. Obviously a Battle Royale didn't work, so then they tried Hazard Zone, and that also flopped, because EA... It didn't do as good as Warzone on, launch, even though Warzone wouldn't nearly be as popular as it is if they didn't launch during COVID, and that is a fact, by the way. I will forever stand by this point. If Warzone did not launch during the COVID quarantine period, it would not nearly be as popular as today with the numbers. I'm sorry, I'm right, you're wrong if you disagree. It would have been popular, don't get me wrong, it would have, it would have been a hit still, but it would not have nearly gotten the same numbers if we weren't all locked inside. So, you're going to argue with me in that? You lack the brain capacity to realise things. But yeah, there we go. Sorry, side rant, I do those quite often. But specialists, they're weird in this game. And I know people complain about them, so I really highly doubt DICE is going to implement them into the next game. So maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe. Another thing that, before I get on to my next point, I want to say something really quickly here. And it's a little bit of a rant, right? Technically, right, specialists, although they're part of the game, right, you have to play a specialist to, join a game. The DICE has created, just regular military characters. I don't know why I said characters there. Characters. They are, they're as character models. You can see them walking around with the AI bots, right? DICE created character models of, US and Russian soldiers. So there's obviously, right, they made the character model, so why not just kind of implement that as the base game? I don't know. The sad thing is you can actually only, they are only on the bots, and they even have voice actors. There is voices to the bots. So, technically, if we maybe boycott hard enough, we could get the, just like a regular kind of, soldier to play, maybe. It wouldn't have an ability or anything, but, it would be interesting to see if DICE implemented something like that for the community. Because that would be interesting, no? I think that'd be interesting. Maybe you disagree with that. Maybe you like specialists. And to that, I ask, well, I'm not going to necessarily say you're weird for it. I just want to know why you like the specialists in this game. It feels odd, I will say this, it feels odd for a Battlefield game to have specialists. Battlefield was always more class-based than the others. But, here's my another question, right? As I said earlier, it's very unlikely, based off the reaction of 2042, that the next Battlefield game, whatever it may be, will have specialists in it, or operators. On the slight chance that it does, how do you think they should do it? I doubt they're going to do it the same way they did with this game, where it will be a set character with an ability. But would they maybe do it in the way that Call of Duty does it, where it's just essentially a reskin with a different voice actor? Would that go down well? I'm not sure, and that's why I want to know people's opinions on this. Would you like it if Battlefield went back to its roots of just being like a kind of military shooter, US versus Russia, or, in Battlefield 4K, so added China into the mix and stuff? Would you prefer that and just kind of the basic character models of Soldier that you can find in the AI bots in the game and based off, the other games there is? Or would you like it to do the Call of Duty style, where, say, you could have, let's say in theory, 2042 did not have, the abilities, so Dozer doesn't have a shield, and Paik can't see people through walls. Irish doesn't have his wall or his projectile shooty thing. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Would you prefer it if you could just play as Irish, just, you know, voice actor, although the voice lines are kind of cringy? Well, no, that was only at the end game, but they took that out. Thank God for that, by the way. That was a side rant and a half, but I don't need to make a video on that because DICE removed it. So thank you, DICE. You did something good, right? But yeah, so would you prefer it if they did a system similar to that, where, say, you could still play as, you know, Irish or Paik or, you know, Valk or whatever, but it was just purely the skin cosmetic that you're, you know, playing with, and the voice actor and stuff. Nothing, you know, no abilities whatsoever other than, like, the, you know what I mean, right? So, would you prefer a system like that, scrap the idea altogether, or would you keep it the way it is, which I don't think anyone's really necessarily going to go for? Me personally, I don't think specialists are going to return. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'm going to let you guys decide that. I personally don't really care if they return the next game or not, but if I had to pick something, I'd want Battlefield to go back to its roots and, you know, go back to the soldier, or do what Call of Duty does and just have a kind of skin-based operator, and that's it. You know, there's no abilities to go with it, because it doesn't really fit in a Battlefield game, as we've seen. Side note, by the way, and this has nothing to do with specialists, I just have no way else to put this. If you use the BSVM in this game, you don't deserve rights. Fuck you, and I hope you get shot. The BSVM users, man, I despise them. You make me sick to my stomach. I hope you get mauled to death by a bear on a walk. Whether that walk be in your town centre for all I care. But yeah, anyway, side rant over. See you guys later. I've been your boy Frost. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. Hell yeah. Let me know your opinion, and I'll see you next time. Peace.